Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We thank God for you for bringing us out today to fellowship and commune on another set apart Shabbat. We thank Him for just how He, kept us all week long, kept us clothed in our right minds, kept our bodies healed, supplied us and provided food, clothing, and shelter for us. And we thank our Yahuah in the precious name of His Son, Mashiyach, Yahusha. At this time, we're going to get ready to go ahead and begin our service. We're going to start by hearing the blowing of the shofar by our Zazakan, Gabar Yahuah. And immediately afterwards, we will have our opening prayer by Zar Aluf, Yukitakael. He'll bring us in with prayer. Hallelujah. At this time, I'm going to ask everybody to turn towards the east as we look towards Jerusalem. And we're going to have the blowing of the shofar, and then we'll have our prayer.
Mashiyach, we give praise. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So we're going to go ahead and get into our scripture study, and we're going to continue with this series, the fundamental approach and understanding to the Hebrew scriptures. And we're going to encourage all of our listening and viewing audience to go back and look at the previous parts of this series if you haven't seen them already. That way you can catch up to where we are and get a thorough understanding of the teaching instead of trying to come on to this part and figure out what we're talking about. The subject matter was, teaching a fundamental approach and understanding to the Hebrew scriptures, because we've received some emails in the past few weeks about some of our teachings and how they sound biased or racially infused. And I felt some type of way about that, and so I decided to go in the scriptures and show people when they pick up the Hebrew scripture, which is commonly known as the Bible to them. Like we said, most times they have no earthly idea of what they possess when they possess the Bible. They have no understanding what it's about. They do not know it's a recorded history of a Hebrew people, and more so specifically, a stem out of that Hebrew people called the Israelites. And so we decided to start back from the beginning and the foundation to show how there was a covenant only made with the nation of Yashra'al, commonly known as Israel, and how from that point on everything is written pertaining to them and about them. Starting with the covenant that was made with Abraham and his physical seed. And we touched on that to show that this is not some spiritual seed that you hear oftentimes. We sing this song when we were coming up in the religious institutions. Father Abraham had many sons. I am one of them, so are you. No, he had a physical seed, and that physical seed became a people or a nation, and one specifically who covenant that was made with Abraham was transferred over to another physical seed that came out of him through his son Isaac, who had a son Jacob, whose name was changed to Yashra'al, commonly called Israel, and the same covenant was passed down to the Israelites, his 12 sons who became 12 nations of people, or 12 tribes. And so, when we look at this, I like to take people, or I should say we, like to take people back to the scriptures and to show them what's written and who it pertains to, and the writings, the audience, who the message is being conveyed to at that time. So, without any further ado, we're going to get into our lesson. We're going to continue from last week's lesson. So we're going to start at, let's go back over to Revelations, the 12th chapter. And we're going to read the first verse there.
Revelation 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in Shamayim, or heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
Okay, now read that first verse again, so you can.
Revelation 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Okay, the sun, the moon, 12 stars. All of that pertains to Israel. All of that pertains to her Sabbath or Shabbat, the mourning or the seasons or festivals she should keep. So when we see these things, it should automatically identify the nation of Yashra'al. Now, last week we talked about a reunification or a marriage. Let's go back, so we can, to Revelation, the 14th chapter and the 4th verse.
Revelation 14, verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Elohim and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of Elohim.
That's good right there. It says, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are what? Virgins. They are they which follow the Lamb wheresoever he goes. These were redeemed from among men. The nation of Yashra'al was scattered where? Among men or among the nations. Then it said, being the first fruit of Elohim and to the Lamb. Being the first fruit of Elohim and the first fruit or to the Lamb. And that Lamb is who? Mashiyach, Yahusha. Now let's go to, we're going to go over to Neyhemyah or Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter and the 3rd verse. The 2nd chapter and the 3rd verse. Remember, Revelation just spoke of the first fruit.
Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah 2 verse 3. Israel was set apart unto Yahuah.
Israel was set apart unto Yahuah.
And the bikurim or first fruits of his increase.
And there was the bikar, the bikurim, or the first fruit of his increase. Yashra'al Yashra'al is what? The first fruit.
All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith Yahuah.
Say that again,
All that devour him shall offend. evil shall come upon them, saith Yahuah.
All that devour them shall offend, and evil shall come upon them. So we know the nations have what? They have devoured Yashra'al. Let's go to Yahuah 33 and 11.
Jeremiah 33 verse 11. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the voice of them that shall say, praise Yahuah of hosts. For Yahuah is good, for his mercy endureth forever. And of them that shall bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuah. For I will cause to return the captivity to the land as the first, saith Yahuah.
So we see that Yashra'al, or Israel, is the bride. Last week we talked about a marriage, reunification, reconciliation. So we see that there's a marriage to take place. There's a bride. We identify this bride as being the nation of Yashra'al, of Israel. Now, when we look at the returning of the 12 tribes, we're looking at a reunification that is associated with a marriage. Because there's a wedding, there's a marriage to take place, but the marriage cannot take place until the 12 tribes have been reunited. And then once they're reunited, they can enter into that covenant. Now, we're going to go to Mashiyach, or Matthew, the 25th chapter, and we're going to read some more about this particular bride and the bridegroom. Now remember, in an earlier lesson, we talked about the kingdom of heaven. And we spoke and talked that the kingdom belongs to the nation of Yashra'al, or Israel. Now let's look at something right quick. We're going to look at a parable. Matthew 25, 1 through, we'll go down to the 12th verse.
Yahuah 25, verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish.
Stop right there. Now, did we just read earlier about a virgin? We read about the nation of Yashra'al being what? Their first fruit of the Bikurim belonged to who? Yahuah. It said they were what? Virgins. So when we look at that, we're still talking about the same group of people over here in Matthew. So when we read Matthew 25:1, keep that virgin in mind. Remember, we were in Revelation the first time. Now let's go back and look at Matthew 25.
Matthew 25, verse 3. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels.
Stop right there. He said, they that were foolish did what? Took no oil with them. It's but the wise took oil in their vessel with their lamp. Remember, you got 5 wise and you got 5 foolish. But are they not all the same people? It's all the same nation, Yashra'al, like Israel. Because after this, we're going to go look at somewhere, and we're going to prove that it's Israel in this kingdom he's talking about. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Matthew 25, verse 4. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept.
Who's the bridegroom?
Yahusha.
Yahusha, Mashiyach. Bridegroom, yeah. Mashiyach Yahusha is the bridegroom. And so, what does it mean? It said, while the bridegroom tarried, they all slept, slumbered and slept.
He's waiting for the bride. He's waiting for the bride to awake or be ready.
Yeah, that's right. He's waiting on the bride because remember, what did he do?
God for
He died for who?
the house of
The house of Israel, in order to reunite with the house of Judah. So, after he shed his blood, which was the blood for the new covenant, did he not speak to the Talmudim or the disciples? What did he tell them? He said, I do what? I go away to do what? Prepare a place for you, that where I am, you may what? Be there also. For he said, for in my Father's house there what? Many mansions. So, while he goes away to prepare a place for his bride, what's the duty of the bride? To make herself ready for her groom when he returns. So, instead of his bride making herself ready, it said they all slumbered and slept. Now, continue reading on, Lord.
Matthew 25, verse 6. And at midnight.
And at midnight, keep that word in mind. And remember, at midnight,
There was a cry.
keep that word in mind. Midnight and cry. At midnight, there was a cry.
There was a cry made. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him.
Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out.
Verse 7.
Midnight, cry, go ye out.
Verse 7. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out.
Give us your oil, for our lamps are gone out.
Verse 9. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut.
Okay, it says, read that last one again you just read close again.
Matthew 25, verse 10. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut.
And they that were ready went in with him to the marriage. So who's going to be married? So is this talking about Yashra'al or Yashra'al and the nations? It's talking about Yashra'al. Yashra'al are the ones that are going to be married. They're the ones that have to be ready and get ready. And those that were ready went in, what?
With him to the marriage.
With him to the marriage.
And the
And
door,
they left the door wide open.
and the door was shut.
And the door was shut. Now y'all saw last week when we were talking about the New Jerusalem. Remember he said, I go away to prepare a place for you. So when he returned, you don't find it strange that the New Jerusalem is descending with him. And we talked about those gates that were going to surround the New Jerusalem. And in those, the walls that would surround the New Jerusalem. And in those walls would be 3 gates. In the northern wall, the southern wall, the eastern wall, and the western wall. And in those gates would be inscribed the names of what? The 12 tribes of Yashra'al of Israel. And did not he say a Malachim at each gate? A Malachim or an angel at each gate. You notice it say, and when they went in, when those that were ready went in after him, the door was shut. There's a reason why there's a Malachim at the entrance, at each gate. So nobody else can enter in. Because what has to happen with every marriage? Consummation. Y'all remember to talk about the upper room or the upper chamber? It's also synonymous with a bridal chamber. That's a place where an Ish goes to what? Know his Isha, his wife. Nobody else can be present in there or in that space. I know this is a bitter pill to swallow, y'all, but you have to bring this to the attention of people when they read this book. So, we talk about 5 wise, 5 foolish. We talk about a midnight, a cry, and a going out. So, let's go look at something right quick. Oh, go ahead, Abu.
When it says midnight cry, is that like blowing the shofar?
That's exactly what it is. Why would it be a blowing of a shofar?
It's announcing.
It's announcing of what is it announcing?
It's coming.
The coming of the bridegroom. Only reason you would announce the coming of the bridegroom is because you're trying to alert who? The bride that her groom is on the way. And it's time for what? It's time for the marriage to take place. Because she's already had that time to get ready. It's time for the marriage when she sees him. Okay, we're going to go to Tehillim or Psalms, the 19th chapter. And while Zarzakan Gabar Yahuah is getting that, I have a question for everybody. Psalms or Tehillim, the 19th chapter, or division, verse 7 and 8. And so, my question is you all. What's the first thing that comes to mind when we start talking about the 5 wise and the 5 foolish? Why the number 5? What does it represent? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see 5? Okay, the Torah. So we're talking about the Torah. When we go and look at this story, it's trying to tell us something.